Peace. Yeah, I'm headed to my program right now, but I had a few minutes in between preschool and my program, so I had to share this thought with all of you. One of the things that is important for us to understand in dealing with our children is all children go through developmental stages. And when you're dealing with early childhood development, which is really the most critical part of their growth and development, because by the time they become 5 years old, their brain is almost fully developed. Meaning, the reason that you see some of these children running around and their head looks disproportionate to their body, it's because that is the size head that they're probably going to have for the rest of their life, you know? So at that point in their growth and development, we play a key role in designing the brain architecture of our children. So all of our children, let me pull over real quick. All of our children go through certain predictable developmental stages. And it's important for us to understand that, because without understanding those specific developmental phases, we may become frustrated or not provide for our children appropriate developmental practices. So, for example, I was talking to some parents today, and they were a little concerned about one of my students in terms of their behavior. And one of the things that I was telling them is children in those early developmental stages are learning how to not only manipulate this physical form, but on top of that, how to engage other physical forms. That is very complicated because they have no reference point in terms of how they need to use this form, and then how they need to engage others who are striving to learn how to use those forms. So, for example, when children are faced with challenges or adversity, they respond various different ways. I've had children, when they face adversity or challenges, they be on some Hawk smash shit. You know what I'm saying? That's the way that they respond to adversity and challenges. Other children, they may get mad and want to fight. Some children, they may break down and just start crying. Some children may whine. These are all responses to adversity or challenges, and children have to learn how to meet those challenges and adversity. And one of the things that you may notice with adults is sometimes they never learn the skills or the tools to be able to meet challenges and adversity. The same 4-year-old or 5-year-old that was whining and crying because something didn't go their way at that age may be a 45-year-old that's whining and crying because something didn't go their way. The same 4 or 5-year-old that every time they face adversity or challenges, they want to fight, is the same 50-year-old that when they face adversities or challenges, they want to fight. They never learn those skills in order to deal with adversity and challenges. And that is a great part of what we do as parents and guardians. And knowing those specific developmental stages that they're going through is critical to us providing them with the appropriate resources in order for them to meet those challenges and deal with that adversity. So, for example, a 4-year-old is learning fine motor skills, which means how to manipulate and use their fingers. If you gave a 4-year-old some little baby scissors, they're not going to usually be able to cut a perfect circle. They have to learn how to use these. So if they're sitting at the table and they're constantly spilling things, that's because they're learning how to use their hands. They're learning how to manipulate this form. That's what fine motor skills are. If a parent or a guardian does not understand that, they may get frustrated with the fact that this child keeps spilling stuff. Or I've had a child one time and gave them something to drink in a regular cup, they put their mouth on this side of the cup. Just like that. And it poured all the way down their shirt. I was like, oops, I learned something from that. You know what I'm saying? And some parents may have gotten mad frustrated that a child did not know enough at that stage in their growth and development to use this side of the cup. You know what I mean? So appropriate developmental practices is understanding that people are at different stages in their growth and development, and you have to meet them where they are. You can't have unreasonable expectations about where they should be, because some people are at certain stages. So for example, the one student that I was telling you about, he's learning how to gain control over his emotions. So one of the things that I use as a tactic is when he start getting upset or whatever because he ain't getting his way, I talk to him and I say, you know, when you're done, you know, come talk to me and use your words and let me know what's actually going on. Because right now, I don't know what's going on. So I'm encouraging him to be able to articulate and use your words to think through those emotions. You're not what you feel. You have a choice in feeling that in response to whatever's going on in your life. And I'm striving to teach them that very early so that as they get older, they have more sense of a self-control when it comes to what they choose to do and how they choose to respond to situations. Another thing that I do is I encourage them to use I phrases. So for example, if somebody does something and they say, you made me drop this, or you made me do this, that, and the third, or you made me mad. No. You can say, I am mad or upset because of this, but you take responsibility and ownership, and I'm putting it in this language for those of you who are listening. I explain to them like, no, you choose to be mad. You feel this way. They didn't make you do anything. Because at an early age, when you start teaching children that it's okay to blame other people, now they may tend to play that blame somebody else game for the rest of their life. Some of the people that you work with in your jobs or that you associate with in your community and stuff like that, you see them doing the exact same thing, playing the blame somebody else game. You made me do it. This is why I'm this way, because of this, because of that. Teach them young, because you are in a position to design the brain architecture of the next generation. And it's important to give them appropriate developmental practices so that they are able to meet challenges and adversity at that stage in their growth and development. Because just like in the Bible, it talks about you train up a child in the way that they go and they won't depart from thee. This is the exact same thing. The exact same thing. So we have to rightly guide them, and part of rightly guiding our children, we have to be able to recognize that, yo, this is where they're at in their growth and development. They haven't learned yet to master the use of their fine motor skills, you know? Or sometimes I may share videos with stuff that I'm doing in the gym. Children are also learning to use gross motor skills, using their body, developing coordination and things like that. Some children, they may have not learned that yet. So you have to provide practices to help them develop the ability to master their gross motor skills. Social emotional. Some children, they have not learned to appropriately socialize with other children yet. You know what I mean? Where, like, one of my students, this dude is the best sharer that I've ever met. I don't care if he has one fruit snack, not a package of fruit snacks. I'm talking about one fruit snack. This dude will give that away to somebody. He bring in toys and stuff like that. He shares them with everybody. He don't be on no selfish stuff. That's mine, this, that, and the third. He may have other areas in his life that he has to develop in. But in terms of like cooperation and sharing, that's my man right there. So I oftentimes put him in position to teach the other students how to share and how to cooperate or how to learn this, because he got it down. It may be another way in a different area of growth and development. One of my other students may be evolved a little bit more in this. So I encourage them, yo, could you show this person how to do this? Or could you teach that person how to do that? So empowering them to be in that kind of position is also a part of teaching them not only leadership skills, but also how to manage working in an environment where they are the best knower. You know, all of these things are important in terms of appropriate developmental practices. And as parents and guardians, we have to be aware of that our children are at different stages of their growth and development, literally. And there are certain things that they have not developed yet in order to do. Yeah, I'm driving right now again. Yeah, so that's very, very important. You know what I mean? So I assured the parents, like, yeah, you know, I was telling them, like, yeah, because they didn't like the way that one of my students, like, just break down, like have a meltdown when they don't get their way for a little, you know, the child is very sensitive. And I was explaining to them, you know, that is one of the ways that they respond to adversity and challenges, you know. So one of the things I've been working on with them is teaching them how to appropriately articulate what's actually going on. And at the same time, that's a very delicate balance, because children also need to know that it's important and it's healthy to have a release like that. They shouldn't be taught, oh, don't cry. Shit. I be crying sometimes when I see my children or children that I work with accomplish a goal, and I'm proud of them. You know, crying is something that's healthy. So children also need to know that it's okay to cry. At the same time, it's also okay to appropriately respond to certain situations, because sometimes tears is not going to answer the problem. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a delicate balance, but, you know, I was thinking about it yesterday, like, yo, I love what I do. This never feels like work to me, because I'm living my purpose. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of engaging our children, that's something that is a part of all of our purpose. If we're older and we have somebody younger than us, that is a part of our purpose in regards to teaching and educating the younger generation, because that's a small part or a small role that we can play in helping ensure that this world is going to be a better place when we're no longer physically here. You know what I mean? It's important to give back like that and to play a vital role in those who are coming behind us. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to share that briefly. And those of y'all that tuned in a little bit later, I definitely encourage you to go back and kind of tune into what I was building about in the beginning of this video. But it's about developmentally appropriate practices, you know? And it's not just with our early childhood crew, you know what I'm saying, children that's 5 and under. For the rest of our lives, we constantly go through developmental processes. Even if people don't want to, you still gonna go through changes. Yeah, you're breaking up too much to continue to watch. Peace. My bad, Justice. Yeah, you constantly go through developmental processes, not just physically neither, you know, as adults. And there are certain things that are developmentally appropriate for us as adults too. And sometimes we can't just assume that a person should be able to get something, or they should be at a certain place in their life, or that they should be able to understand something, or we should never assume that. You know what I mean? Just because we may be older physically. We require developmentally appropriate practices too. But thanks for tuning in, y'all. I'm out. Peace.